To order, if you could please stand for a moment of silent reflection. And the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I get a roll call, please?
Mrs. King? Here. Mr. Herner?
Here.
Mr. American?
Here.
Mr. Schuler?
Here.
Mr. Borback?
Here.
Mayor O'Brien?
Here. I'm going to read the Statement of Compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Pursuant to the requirements of the New Jersey's Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was included in the annual meeting notice filed in the office of the Borough Clerk, posted on the Borough website and on the bulletin board in the municipal building, published as a legal notice in the Co-Star newspaper and mailed to those requesting notice and providing payment in accordance with the borough policy. And then can we approve the agenda, please? We didn't add any changes, did we? No.
No.
The agenda as written.
Need a motion?
Yeah, can we get a motion?
I'll second it.
Roll call?
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borback?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next, if we could get an approval of the minutes of the May 23rd, 2016 regular session. Can we get a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Roll call?
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Abstain.
Mr. Borback?
Yes.
Motion passes.
We don't have any presentations at this time. We do have two scheduled public hearings for ordinances. The first one is for ordinance number 2016-03, the capital ordinance appropriating $77,000 from the Water Sewer Utility Capital Improvement Fund for purchase of a utility vehicle. And typically with the public hearings, we open it up to public comment.
Make a motion.
Yeah. So we'll do them one at a time, I think. It makes sense. So can I get a motion to open up the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
for
I'll
that
second
ordinance?
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borback?
Yes.
So if anybody on the council or in the public would like to talk about the capital ordinance appropriating to buy the water sewer utility vehicle, please approach the chair, state your name and address, and your concern or comment. Seeing no hands, I would like to close the public hearing on... What, Jake, do you want to...
I was just going
Okay.
to preface the public hearing by indicating that this is a capital ordinance, and by definition, that means that the funding is in place. This is simply appropriating money from our capital improvement fund for the purchase of this piece of equipment. I think as the council is aware, we received bids on this late last month, and assuming the ordinance is adopted, there is a resolution on the agenda awarding the contract for the purchase of this sewer jet combination sewer vac high pressure jet machine.
Okay, and that's the clean out clogged sewers, right?
It's a nice machine. When I looked at it.
A bit more than a plunger. All right. See, does anybody on the council have anything that they need to add to the discussion?
2016. What do they say, clean pipe safety?
All right. Can I get a motion to close the public
I'll make
hearing
that motion.
on ordinance 2016-03?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Mrs.
Oh.
King?
Yes?
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borback?
Yes.
The next scheduled public hearing is for ordinance number...
We have to
Sorry?
make a motion now.
To actually adopt it, right? Oh, okay. Because now we can do that.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Can I get a roll call?
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borback?
Yes.
Motion passes.
That's all we have to do with that, right?
We're done with that.
All right. The next scheduled public hearing is for ordinance number 2016-04, amending Chapter 17 of the flood damage prevention of the revised general ordinance of the Borough of Spring Lake Heights, New Jersey. We had spoken about this at a couple meetings. Basically, this is changing the definition of flood damage, adding one particular sentence so that if you receive more than 50% damage over multiple storms, you are still eligible to call it damage by flood. I think is essentially the gist of what that is. So can I get a motion to open the public hearing on that?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borba?
Yes.
All right, if anybody from the public would like to comment on this ordinance, please approach the chair and make your comment.
Thomas Murphy, 805 Shore Road. Just like to thank you guys for your time and effort. You just take the time for us and my family. It just seems like, the fact that some wording in the ordinance that other local towns that have flooded in the past is preventing me from, and my family from, getting funds to rebuild to proper standards. So I just like to thank you guys for all the help.
Yeah, like I said last time, I think it just seemed to be the insurance companies were using every loophole possible to prevent you from getting your money, and hopefully this prevents that from them from doing it to you or to any other residents that might be in the situation. So,
Thank you very much.
does anybody else have anything to say about that, from the council or from the public?
I'll make a motion to close.
Sure.
Second.
And a roll call?
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borba?
Yes.
Now can I get a motion to adopt ordinance number 2016-04?
I will make that motion.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borba?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And that is the end of our scheduled public hearings, which brings us to our public comment section. This section is reserved for agenda items only.
Thank you.
If you have a comment, please approach the chair, state your name, your address, and your comment. Seeing no hands, can I get a motion to close the public comment section?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borba?
Yes.
We have two discussion items. The first one is a potential vehicle weight limit on Central Avenue. Jay, do you want to give
Yes,
that?
Mayor, you'll recall that at our last meeting, we reviewed a request from a resident on that street who had requested actually something a little bit different, which was, I guess, the erection of a barricade to turn it into essentially a dead-end street. I think the preliminary discussion at the council meeting, at our last meeting, was that we review options as far as gross vehicle weight limitations. I would point out that in reviewing our existing regulations, which provide for vehicles with a weight in excess of 4 tons to be excluded from certain streets. And for those that live on Oldville Road, for instance, you may be aware that there are signs that indicate that that street is weight restricted. As it turns out, there is no such regulation on our books. In any event, I have provided the council with the portion of the ordinance that would provide for a weight limitation and how that would be structured. It has also been pointed out that, and it's underlined in the information that's been distributed, that such a vehicle weight limit provides an exception for vehicles that are either picking up and/or delivering materials. So I'm not sure that that would specifically address the concerns that were raised by the resident on Central Avenue, but I know this was one of the items the council wanted to look at.
So this isn't going to preclude someone getting a delivery or anything like that, but it may stop some heavy-duty traffic?
Well, this isn't going to, the problem was the couple stores having tractor trailers coming in, shutting down the road.
Oh, yeah,
and using
yeah.
it for loading.
You couldn't drive
And
around it.
This is, yeah, right, they block the street.
It's the block of Central Avenue that is adjacent to Highway 71, right?
And so this ordinance is not going to do that. It's not going to take care of that. So it's going to, we have to have further review and see if there's some way we can control it, but certainly not using this. Because it allows for delivery, you can understand that, even though trucks can't be on Old Mill, you may want a furniture delivery.
Right.
Or something like that. I don't remember why that was put in there in the first place. I think it wasn't necessarily big trucks on Old Mill, I think it was buses that were cutting through because they were up at the end of Old Mill, behind Kmart at the time, it was a long time ago. But this isn't gonna work, so we're gonna have to go back to the drawing board. Try and find some other way. And I think we're reaching out to the stores, right? The zoning and trying to come up with something amicable. Okay.
Because right now, it's not just small delivery trucks, it's,
No, it's tractor trailers,
Tractor
shut
trailers,
down the
yeah.
road in the middle of the day
Yeah.
and literally bring a forklift out and unload the truck in the street. And it's a problem. And what happened was, at the last meeting, the truck went up the street and took out the electric for 3 houses and pulled them off the houses. And that's the reason the resident sent the letter in the first place. Well, we addressed it.
okay. The next discussion item is South End parking restrictions. These are currently restrictions that are in place, right, that we're looking to see if they still need to be.
That's correct, and that was, I think, related to the discussion about Central Avenue. It was pointed out that there are a number of streets in that same area that have a time restricted parking regulation.
That may date all the way back to Jimmy Burns being an open bar.
Establishment,
Yeah.
A long, long time ago.
In any event, what has been prepared is, we just assembled what the existing regulations are as far as all of the streets in town where there are such prohibited parking during certain hours. And we've highlighted with the asterisks and those that appear to be what has been informally referred to as the Jimmy Burns regulation, which is the 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. overnight restriction on certain portions of streets at the south end of town. And attached to that is a map that shows all of those affected streets. I would just point out 2 anomalies. One is that Ocean Road is listed as part of this regulation, and it is subject to an additional regulation that prohibits parking at all times on the south side. And that's from the railroad all the way west to the boundary with Wall Township.
But nevertheless, we're getting rid of this old ordinance, doesn't make any sense anymore. We still have that restriction for another reason.
That's correct.
So, makes all sense in the world.
Yeah, and the few signs that are still standing, if it's a police in a bad position, someone calls in complaints, or maybe 2 signs on the entire street that are still left there, and they have to write a ticket. Because there's a sign and someone's parking at the wrong time, even though basically it's been ignored for 30 years. So, just wait and clean it up. and get
I
rid of it.
never knew you could park on Central.
Yeah, right.
I've been over 20 years. I've been
See that? You made a fortune on it.
If this is acceptable, then we'll have the formal ordinance to repeal these sections as noted for the next meeting.
It's a great idea.
Sounds good to me, yeah. Anything else on that? No? Okay, that brings us to our mayor and council reports. Let me start with Mr. American today.
Still progressing with replacing the old water hydrants, fire hydrants.
Excellent.
And they're doing a good job. I have nothing.
Councilwoman King?
Okay. I have a couple of things to report on. First of all, I want to report on the LED program. This program replaced DARE, and it is newly instituted, and today, over in the grammar school for the 5th grade, they received awards that were given by Officer Ken Hager, Officer Ken Hager, who conducted the class and it was a very nice event, and they got a diploma, they got a shirt and something else, which I don't know what it was, but the parents were invited to come and see their children, and it is a good enforcement for the drug program and alcohol and so on and so forth. And Mr. Hager, Officer Hager, said that they really did a good job. They were very attentive. They came up with a lot of good questions, and he was very pleased with the first class that he taught. Apparently, they're also going to do this again in the 8th grade. I don't think they did it in the 8th grade this year. I think they're going to start doing it next year. But in 3 years, these same students will have the class again when they're in the 8th grade. But I just wanted to mention it because the DARE program had gone by the wayside and wasn't something that was being done anymore. So it's nice to see that they came up with a brand new program. The other thing I want to mention is the chief received a letter from a woman on North Lake Drive whose husband apparently was in very grave health, and also Officer Hager was the one who had gone there to assist her on a couple of different occasions with her husband. And unfortunately, he ultimately passed away, which we certainly do offer our condolences to her. But she went on to say in her letter that her husband had died, and Officer Hager took the time to come to his viewing and to also attend his funeral. And she could not get over how our police force has such fine officers and how much they care about the individuals in this town. And I think it's important to mention things like this as we go forward. Other than that, I have nothing else to report.
Nothing to report, Mayor.
We have hired a summer camp coordinator for the summer rec program. Her name is Kathleen Senaducato. Is that close enough? Okay. She'll be in charge of the day-to-day operations of summer camp this year. She'll work directly underneath Sean Heater, who has overall authority, but she'll be the day-to-day. If you have a problem, you go to her and she'll handle it. So, and that's a little different than what we've had in the past.
Right, and also on the agenda today is the appointment of all the rec employees.
Right.
All right, that brings us to our reports, notices, and correspondences. The first one is the Borough of Spring Lake Heights monthly revenue report for May. We also have the Spring Lake Heights Municipal Court review for May. Spring Lake Heights Police monthly report for May. And then there's a couple of resolutions from Edentown and from Red Bank opting back into the Monmouth County Assessment Demonstration Program. And also a letter from Monmouth County Planning in regards to the home housing production program. Did anybody have any questions or comments about any of those letters and/or correspondences? That brings us to our ordinance introductions then. So let's get through those. So the first one is resolution number R 2016-106, which is awarding a contract for purchase of a combo sewer vacuum and high-pressure jet rotor truck to Wasaki, I don't know how to say it. Waschek Mechanical.
Mayor, I just want to point
It's
out,
not
they're not
that-
ordinances, these are resolutions.
These are, yeah, did I say ordinances? I apologize.
That's okay,
We did the ordinances earlier.
no problem.
So this was, we did mention this earlier in the ordinances. But can I get a motion for that resolution?
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borback?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The next resolution is R 2016-107, which is approving the renewal of our alcohol beverage control licenses for the town.
Mayor, I just wanted to point out all of our businesses that hold the liquor licenses have all done all their other compliance items that they needed to do as far as registration with the state, cable fees, and so this is the last step, is us approving that.
And that, I mean, they are being renewed without special conditions, right?
Correct.
So, all right. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The next resolution is R 2016-108, approving the issuance of an alcoholic beverage control social affair permit for Fairway Muse Community Association.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The next resolution is Resolution R 2016-109, approving the issuance of an alcoholic beverage control social affair permit for Food Bank of Monmouth and Ocean Counties.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The next resolution is Resolution R 2016-110, approving a fireworks display at the Spring Lake Golf Club for Friday, July 1st at 9 p.m.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
They always put on a nice show for the whole town. The next resolution is Resolution 2016-111, approve waiving of the food handling permit fees for the Spring Lake Heights Elementary School and Wall Methodist Church.
I'll make that motion.
Second it.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The next resolution is Resolution R 2016-112, a resolution of the Borough Council approving the use of the community center for Wickham Manor and for the Girl Scout Troop number
I'll
29.
make that motion.
I'll second it.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The next resolution is Resolution R 2016-113, approving the use of Allaire Road Park for Sean Dickinson's tennis tournament.
I'll make that motion.
Second it.
And that'll be June 27th through July 1st.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next resolution is R 2016-114, confirming the appointment of school crossing guards for 2016-2017 school year.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Just one note about this is that if you look at the resolution, there's no salaries attached to that yet because they will be included in the salary and wage ordinance.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The next resolution is resolution number R 2016-115, appointing of additional summer recreation employees. And that's that list that I told you before. Those are all the kids in the summer help.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry?
I'll make that motion.
Make it again.
I'm gonna make a motion.
Somebody seconded it already.
Oh,
I'll second that.
who's on first?
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, the next resolution is R 2016-116, requesting approval from DLGS for the amendment of the 2016 budget. And that's just adding grants to the budget, right?
That's correct.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And the final resolution is Resolution R 2016-117, approving the payment of claims as shown on the bill list dated June 10th, 2016.
I'll make that motion. Second.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Herner?
Yes.
Mr. American?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck?
Yes.
Motion passes.
That is the end of our resolutions, which brings us to our public comment section where you can comment on any item, agenda-related or otherwise. If you have a comment, please come forward, state your name, your address, and address the chair.
talk about, a little bit about Allaire Road Park again. I know we've talked about it in the past, and I think there was a committee that...
This is before you, excuse me, if you could just come closer to the mic. Thank you.
Sure. There was a committee that was created to figure out the open space money and what we could do at the park. And I think there's been some great changes made. Is there money left? Is there any debate still open to do any further enhancements at the park?
What did you have in mind?
What's that?
Did you have something in mind?
A walking path around the perimeter
That's a good idea.
for strollers, for, I thought, it's right across from Ferry Muse, that I think the community in Ferry Muse would really like it. If you go around the perimeter, there's some great parks that I've been to that have workout stations along the way.
The fit thing, yeah.
Yeah, so you get here and there's a chin-up bar, and a nice sign that tells you what to do. Further along, there's this one. But I think it's great for everybody from, kids on up through seniors to use it.
I agree.
My main concern at the park is that when there isn't baseball, there's kids hanging out there sometimes, but there's just no parents around, there's no families enjoying it. And it can be such a great space that if there were more options, I think more people would come. When we started this Tri-Shore Little League, I can't tell you how many people have said from Spring Lake and Seeger, "Where's Allaire Road Park?" So, you've answered your own question, right? But nobody knows about it. And, it's when you come off the Parkway, if you're coming to Spring Lake, you pass right by it. And nobody knows about it. It could be such a, oh, look at that, what a great park. It could be such a great anchor in our town. Our kids don't have a central location to hang out. In Spring Lake, they have town, they have Main Street, and they have the park there that there's always a lot of adults. And I just think that when there's kids hanging out with no parental supervision, if their own parents are checking in here and there, but if there's just a family having a picnic, or if dogs were allowed, if there were people walking their dogs, if there are people walking around the perimeter, I just think that it leads to better decision-making on all levels.
We have actually been in discussions with the environmental committee and specifically about dogs.
Yeah.
I agree that I think it would be a great place to be able, people now walk their dogs around Fairway Muse if they could. Especially people who live on Wall Road that would want to walk,
Right.
they can't even walk their dogs through the park right now. Right now it prohibits all dogs.
Right.
So we're looking to change the ordinance so that we can make it so that we will punish people who leave a mess in the park, but
Exactly.
allow them to utilize the park both to walk their dogs and as a pastime.
Yeah, so
In the
Steve,
past, we've talked about the little fit trail in the
Yeah.
past. And Jay, I don't know where we are with the open space money, but we collect money for open spaces every year in our taxes. So that's something we could look at in the future because we can't do all the projects now.
absolutely.
But
So, yeah,
it's a great idea. I like the idea very much.
There's the road that goes back, and it could remain a road for car, there's that one road that goes along. And then, it could just be an extension around the outside. I think anything we could do to draw people and to make that a town anchor, where people would think of it more and enjoy it more. And I don't think it causes excess noise. I don't think, we're not that big of a town. We don't have to worry about traffic, any of those things, in my opinion. But it would be nice to drive by. There's a park in Point Pleasant, you drive by, it looks like a Norman Rockwell painting at all hours of the day. And then you pass Allaire and it's either empty or there's baseball, or there might be some kids hanging out. It would be nice to make it more of a family-oriented park, in my opinion.
And just to address one other point that you made about the committee, I think the end result of that was we had set aside some of that money that we had collected through the open space trust fund tax and utilized it to help improve the Spring Lake Heights elementary school fields.
Right.
They added basketball courts and they added sprinkler systems so that the field that is utilized for soccer and for baseball could get water and actually have more than just goose poop and dirt.
Yeah,
So I think
those were great.
yeah, so I'm just saying, some of that money has been spent, some of it's been spent to upgrade the properties.
It does get
the ideas that you have
some
don't
of it.
sound overly expensive and sound pretty
I don't
good.
know,
So.
yeah, and I just think
Certainly
we
consider.
don't want to, I think it seems that there might be the thought in town that we kind of want to leave the park the way it is, and, but I don't think, some enhancements could be, I think it could be a great compromise.
We greatly appreciate you coming out and keeping that issue alive.
Yeah. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mayor, just ask
Go ahead.
a question that Councilman.
Oh, yes, sir,
Warbeck
thank you.
raised. The current year open space tax, those revenues are earmarked as part of our budget preparation process for improvements ongoing this year, as I think you're all aware. The efforts recently in the past 6 months have been on replacing the bumpers and some additional tree plantings and what I would call some relatively minor improvements and equipment replacement at Allaire Road Park and the adjacent Fletcher, what was originally the Fletcher property. In terms of the balance, I don't have the number off the top of my head. My recollection is there's approximately $200,000 of open space tax in reserve that has been tentatively identified for community center improvements, which I believe next meeting we will have a presentation from the architect on those plans.
So I guess my point was that the money does get replenished over time, but we do have items that, we're rolling out.
As well as-
So
Yeah.
keep bringing that issue up from time to time to keep us
Okay.
thinking about it.
Thank you.
We're Sharon Bateau, Beverly Avenues, Vermont Heights. First, I want to thank Janine for putting together a really wonderful event at the end of last week at the community center with the breast surgeon and the radiologist, Drs. Miller. We had a great time and it was really wonderful and informative. Thank you very much. And I'd also like to comment on the proposed possible expanded athletic use of the playing fields. I think it's fine the way it is. I think we're still waiting to plant more trees that were dead and dying and there's empty spaces. We have a lot of playing fields in the area for Little League and things like that. And I think the workout stations would be cool and walking paths and things like that, but expanded playing fields, I really don't think it's necessary. And I am a Spring Lake Heights family. I don't have children, but I also want my opinions to be heard about how I would like it to be. And I think we need to be careful because right down the road from there is the busiest intersection in Spring Lake Heights. And the traffic is starting to become a problem every day when school lets out. And now, people coming into town to go to the beach. And there's a lot of traffic on 71. I don't see how you're going to avoid that if you went a different direction with the expansion and had bigger playing fields and more games going on and things like that. I don't know. But Spring Lake has playing fields and parks for Little League events. Seabird, I just think that we're really starting to get put upon a lot in this town. And I just think that mayor and council should be diligent about controlling growth here. Highway 71 is going to become dangerous someday, and God forbid something is going to happen with children on bicycles. I'm sure we could do a bit more to really make it more active for everybody, not just parents with children, but seniors as well. And, we can't forget that part of our society. So I just wish that I thought this was settled. People signed petitions a few years back. So if this comes up again, I just think you need to consider everybody and control growth. Thank you.
Nate Novak, 907 Keith. Wanted to thank Julie for getting up and speaking about the park. There's been a lot of different ideas that have been floated around lately, and different people have different ways of looking at the park. And I'm not saying that all the ideas are wrong or good or bad. What I'm saying is that it's a park. So I think that we need to just take a step back and realize that parks are for children. And it's all about the kids in this town, and the future of our town. So, I'm not for, just turning it into a complete, arboretum. There's a field in the front that is a soccer field that also contains a softball field / t-ball field. And I think the safety of that field is also an issue because it's really not safe. It's not safe when kids are playing soccer and stuff and going from dirt to grass and different levels, and that dirt up there is never actually really solid. So I don't know if we need to actually expand the park there, but making it better and making it safer would be something that I think we could consider as an option. But the park is for kids. I grew up in this town. I've lived in this town my whole life, and we don't have summer recreation at Allaire Road Park anymore, and that was a staple of our community. We didn't ride our bikes on Highway 71. We did ride the 7-Eleven back then because things were a little more lax, so you could leave the park and actually go get a Slurpee. So we can't do that anymore, but that park is a staple of our community, and it needs to be for generations going forward. And I feel like if we just leave it there and don't continue to improve it, then it won't be used like it should, because it is a beautiful space. And I'm very fond of it. I live around the corner. I've lived here my whole life, and I've used that park my whole life. And I go to Little League now, and it's not just a Little League. There is, they use that for Pop Warner football and soccer and other sports that, there's lacrosse, all kinds of things. And, I don't think it's going to be a professional stadium, but I think we need to make sure that it's, usable
That's
for generations
discriminatory.
to come. So, thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
I really want to point out that the parks are not just for kids, they're for everybody in town, the elder people, mid-range age people, and young people.
Yeah, I would completely agree. I think what Julie was talking about, the Fit Trail, it's a trail that has little stations.
And that kind of thing's for everybody.
That is absolutely for everybody, and it's an idea that I thought was a great idea.
Yeah, and I think
Right, but we have to do what we can within our budget as it comes along, but.
we do have a large senior community that lives right next to the park,
Right.
and a primarily senior community in Fairway Mews. They already utilize the sidewalk around Fairway Mews as a walking trail. If we could expand that walking trail into our own property and make it that much better, then it would be a use that would expand beyond our kids and make it so that there are more people in there all the time, not just when there's a game.
And it's a low impact thing.
Right, so I think I like that idea.
Budget-wise, it could be rolled out, half at one point, workout stations further down the road or something along those lines.
Good.
John Kennedy, 564 Atlantic Avenue. I really like Ms. LaForge's idea about the campground. I think my main concern is that we had originally, the goal of this was to restore the park and to restore the growth, and that is coming slowly. It's being done. Trees are going up, not exactly in the middle of the grove, but they are increasing. But I think my main concern is people that want to build more fields. I think we have enough fields. I think we gave $100,000 to the schools to build additional fields. And all these other improvements are fine, but increased field use is going to be increased noise, increased lights, increased time at night. That's going to disturb the neighbors. So I think all the ideas that could be considered would be very good. As Ms. LaForge suggested, that sounds like a great idea. But more athletic fields I don't believe are needed at this time. Thank you.
Just to be clear, we don't have a plan to build more fields. I know it's been brought up a couple of times, and I think the concern is
Nobody
more,
said that.
if that plan comes forward, you're voicing your concerns. I just wanted to let you know that there's not a stated plan. The one plan that we had a committee, as I said, the committee got together, the end result was to try to rehabilitate some of the fields that we already had rather than build some new ones, because we thought that was the best cost-effective solution, provided the best playing options for our children without having to spend $1 million to build a multi-purpose.
Actually, I have minutes here from that meeting that you all had. in 2012, was it?
Do you want the plan, John?
Here it is. And it had an interesting ending. So it was June 2nd, 2014. And it was the meeting that Councilman Tienkin chaired.
Yes.
And at the end, everybody spoke. There was like 30 people got up and said what they wanted to say. And Mayor Mechanico asked the council to relay which options they would like to propose. And Councilman Tienkin suggested bringing in a professional planner that may be the way to go. And everybody here kind of agreed with that idea. And the last sentence said that Mayor Mechanico asked Mr. Delaney to move forward with that. And Mr. Delaney said that if you put out an RFP for professional services to focus on our parks and recreation. So I was wondering, we never did hire anybody, a professional person that could design a park that knew what they were doing about it, did we?
No, I think the end result was that we sort of took a different direction in that we talked to the school and found that there was an opportunity
Right,
there
so, my memory-
to do things without having to build a brand new
Right.
field.
My
So
recollection is we did that as kind of a compromise because a lot of people were concerned with the grove and everything, so.
So the compromise was.
Or whatever the term you want to
The
use.
decision was made that the money was going to go to the school to build the fields, and that's where the fields would be.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so just make sure I have it back.
Go first.
No, go ahead.
Jim McCarthy, 806 Lake Avenue.
Sorry, hold on one second, just come on up and I just need you to your name and address.
Jim McCarthy, 806 Lake Avenue.
Thank you.
So a number of years ago, I was part of a group, probably 3 or 4 years ago, where we met, I don't know, 10 or 15 Saturday mornings at Seabreeze Cove. And in the informal meeting, Sarah, you attended it, we did submit some plans that was purely field-based. And then I just happened to see it in the back because I haven't seen it since the day I met. And that was one of my first questions, what happened to those? So, and a lot of it was talking about adding the baseball field, adding a t-ball field, adding a softball field, adding an all-purpose field, tennis courts. And the community came out and basically spoke and made completely valid points that we do have enough fields. And maybe we just refurbish some of those fields. And it died at that point in time. And then about 2 years later, and this was done somewhat privately, not to cause a ruckus. And the points were valid. The grove is nice. I also made the point that night the grove is dangerous, and it's been fixed. So whether you would keep it or not, it was not okay the way it was, and some people wanted to leave it the way it was. So I'm happy with the progress there. And I'm happy to see the progress they're actually trying to make the grove a usable space there. The next meeting that then came about, which was probably 18 months to 2 years later, visited taking down the entire grove, and the community spoke not to do that. And it was not just for all-purpose fields, but a lot of the conversation that became, and I was an opponent that day, and I apologize, I don't come to a lot of meetings, was about changing that facility to become the focus of our town. We don't have the Third Ave, we don't have Secret's Main Ave, but that is our place where that could be where our community meets. And that night we discussed making an attractive place for fair reviews to use. Like have the oversized chessboards, have shuffleboard there, expand the building that's there by 2 or 3 times and make it an art center, make it a community center similar to the one we have, but have regular usage that comes of it. For kids that aren't into sports, they don't have use of it all year round. We talked about adding a gazebo or two where maybe there's a regularly monthly concert. I was still a proponent of putting a softball field in the back where the grove has been cleaned up, and then have the front field become open space. No field, no sports to be played on, but for picnic tables and for other areas, and including the walking track, for expanded parking. Because obviously if we do anything there, parking has to be there. There's no way to not having parking. Tying in Fletcher Field is part of that walking track. Fletcher Field at that point in time was told was staying as is. There was too much natural habitat there, and it has been cleaned up. And I understand there's both sides of the equation. I'm going to fall on one, and people fall on the other. But it does involve spending money. I'm on the school board. I deal with a budget all the time. I'm on management. But at some point in time, if you don't change, you're going to fall behind. The school has done a lot to change. You guys have supported a lot of our change. We've had, I think, 7 or 8 schools come visit our school, trying to learn about what we did and why we're so far ahead of everybody else in this program. We have high schools coming to visit our schools, we're so advanced. We spent a few bucks. I pushed the committee, I understand there's budgets, but whether it's floating a bond, which I probably don't think the project needs to float a bond, but I don't think it needs to be an 8-year plan either. Stuff can be done there purely for the committee. And then the town has to take some responsibility to be organizationally responsible about putting on events to attract people to come there. Because if you get the younger generation there, and I mean the younger generation of parents, and with bringing their kids there, just to spend the day there, because it's a good place to go. And then the Fairway News residents will come across the street because they want to be part of the community. Will there be a little more noise? Will there be a little more action? Yes, but you live next to a park. That was part of the deal when you moved there. And I kind of say it how it is. Maybe that's not the friendliest way to say it. But it doesn't mean it needs more light, though. It doesn't mean the light needs to be on later. But daytime hours, it's not being used. And the fact is, the more people that are there, the less trouble is going to occur. When there's 4 kids there hanging out at dusk at night, trouble is going to occur. When there's regularly people there, it doesn't become the place to hang out anymore to cause trouble. It becomes the place to hang out for a positive time. So there was an issue. I mean, and this be passed around. It was all sports. And the community was right. We don't need more sports. We just need to fix up some of the ones we have. But you guys have your gazebo out here, and maybe once or twice as a concert, a few people show up to it. That's a perfect park for it. It should be promoted more, it should be used more, there's more opportunities to be out there, and I'm sure there's plenty of other ideas, non-sports ideas. I'm a jock, that's my life, but there's plenty of other areas that community should be used, it should be used regularly, and the field should be used, and there's a movie night coming up on Friday night. I mean, that's a great thing for the community to be there, and it's being sourced by the Little League, but I'd love to see the town be in charge of that, and really get the word out even more, and promote it to become our community center. It'll raise everybody's real estate values.
Yeah, we should talk to Spring Lake. They have one of those big blow-up movie things that they show on the beach all the time, and how much.
And people just show up. And again, it's not going to work day one, but if it's regularly done, people will show up. It'll become part of your monthly habit, monthly plan as a family. And that's what this town's about. This town's about family.
The crazy thing is, this gazebo is here because it was too busy at Allaire Road Park to have the concerts, a regular contest. Because it was a 10-year-old tournament. We had Ben's League, Ben Deneen ran his basketball league through there, from kids 8 through 40. They have gone since they were 8, and then their kids would play. Elwood and Alex Rec, Ben Deneen. There's no more Ben Deneens.
I know.
There's no more Elwoods running the rec for free at the park. We moved that out into the school. Everything went through Allaire Road Park at one time. And that's just, it hasn't been like that in many years.
And that was my point, is the town's got to take some responsibility.
I think,
trying to promote, social media is easy to promote now. I mean, Facebook, just put it out there. I mean, I find out all the time from the school, when I think police what's going on. I find out from you guys when you guys post things, if something's up in town. I mean, it's a great way to promote. And, you know, if you get enough of us that actually care about the town, we'll probably help push that early on in the stages, and if the events are good enough, they'll continue.
I think that's the key right there. I mean, some of the things that he talked about were driven by volunteers, right? I mean, sure, the town helped organize them and drove the initial setup, but in the end, they kept going because you had dedicated volunteers that were interested in doing it. I mean, there are solutions absolutely that cost money, but there's also solutions that just cost money. And it's great to see as many people here tonight as there are. And, you know, the more we get that going and the more we have these people involved, you know, the more successful I think you can be.
I know these ladies and myself. Volunteer when they want to help, and we
Keep coming back to the council meetings.
happen the same as the board.
Yeah. Definitely do.
So, but thanks, guys. I just, you know, I know we're budget matters. At some point in time, if you don't change, you fall behind. And this is not spending money foolishly, as long as it's used properly afterwards. And you know, there's a goal or two, but it does take some organization behind it. Just you do it and then walk away from it, nothing's going to happen. So, that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments.
May I comment the second time, Mayor?
Wait, before you do, was there anybody else that wanted to go first?
Of course.
She can go.
Okay, go ahead.
Thanks,
then.
Mayor.
I wasn't going to stop you from going twice regardless.
Sharon Gatto, Beverly Avenue. First of all, this is Spring Lake Heights, not Seaside Heights. And you see what happened last summer with events being posted on social media, and Belmar had to be shut down because of how bad the seafood festival was. I don't think we need a big amusement park over here. I think we need, again, to control growth. Otherwise, you pave paradise and put up a parking lot. And I just don't think our town can handle chessboards and concerts. I mean, I would not want to live in Fairway News if that happened, or over behind the park. I think we have to also remember the environment and greenery and trees, which are the lungs of the earth, for heaven's sake. And again, you can't just think it's not all just about the kids. I'm a taxpayer. I think I give enough in my property taxes to the school. And I think that there's a whole section of citizens that also need to be considered in decisions like that.
I think a lot of things we're talking about aren't just about the kids.
Well,
I mean, the concerts, I mean, that
Yeah,
used to be held at the
and-
park were more, adult-oriented than they were kid-oriented. I mean, it's all about community, more so than it is about kids. And kids are part of the community,
of
seniors are
course,
part of the
and
community.
so are middle-aged people.
Yeah, no, I know, I'm
and
just saying that all of these things.
Millennials and, you
Yeah,
know.
but the idea that I think most of the people are talking about here tonight is to have a center to our community, not to have an amusement park, as you stated, but a place where people in the community can come and gather and, it's a public space and that is an appropriate place for that.
Well, and I'll also add, if you don't mind, that, we had one contingent, a group of people wanted to use all sports fields, as was just mentioned, and a lot of people came out and said, no, we like the Grove and things like that. And that changed the council. I mean, and I'm encouraging everybody to come back to council meetings, because we don't know what you want unless you come out and tell us. So it's great that you come out, I'm talking to you, and state your position, and it's great for everybody else to come, because that's how democracy works. And we're doing it in a civilized way, and we don't want to pull the wool over everybody's eyes. We want everybody involved so we can make a decision together.
Of course, it just has to be balanced in all things. And I mean, after the B3, I just sort of get very cautious because there could have been a lot of other things done with that spot. And as you see, it's still half empty over there. And there's no park.
We're having salt in the room.
Yeah, no, I know. So, anyway, please use your wisdom with these things and keep us all in the loop here. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to send that read?
Good morning, I'm 71. Obviously, I found the statement about parks for children kind of off-putting. It should be for everyone, should be for all ages. And I do like the idea of some activities in the park. It would be nice if you could do that, but we do have noise levels to think about. But when you do something, it should encompass all ages, and it should encompass everyone. And, there are things, if fitness sounds nice, or, there are exercise classes that a lot of places teach on uneven surfaces that could be for, people of all ages. But I've seen a lot of our programs, a number of years ago, there was a councilman who wanted to buy a building in town, that would have been able to expand our recreation program. Because you know what? There are photographers, there are journalists, there are people who want to surf, there are people who don't want to play baseball or football, and maybe the golfer, the dancer, the bird watcher, the gardener, whatever. And we should also try to have programs in anything that we offer in town that encompasses people that don't want to play baseball. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. John, Crosby Road. A couple years ago, there was talk about repaving Crosby Road, Jeanette Court, Norman Terrace, sidewalks, everything, there was kind of a crazy night that night. But whatever became of that?
Jay, could you give us an
We just
update?
got back on track.
Funny you mentioned that.
We actually talked about that.
I don't have my list in front of me, but my recollection from the report, we committed that it is a third quarter project. The plans are completed, and we will be going out to bid in July. Actually, I'm sorry, we're going out to bid this month. The bids will be coming in July. We expect that to be a late summer or fall project.
What about the sidewalk issue? That was.
Sidewalks are not included. That was very early, was the one concession that everyone agreed on. There were a number of issues that were not agreed on, but the elimination of the proposed sidewalks was, it moved forward without the sidewalks included.
Gotcha. Also, you know, with all this talk lately with the Allaire Park, I live behind it, and I'm glad that people are kind of backing off on a lot of the proposals that they're making. I really think that, you know, further enhancement of the park is a great thing. I mean, the improvements that have been made after the storm have been really great. I hope most of the neighbors are happy with it. I mean, I know sometimes it takes a little while, but things have gotten done. But you know, it's kind of sad though, because there aren't that many kids anymore that are actually utilizing it. I think the Little League practically dwindled away this year. You didn't really hear a lot of activity over there, unfortunately, as far as that goes. And it's kind of a sad thing because you know, I've lived here for about 15 years, and that was always a nice thing to hear on Saturday mornings, hearing the kids playing baseball. And you know, an occasional night game. It wasn't really that bad, but you know, I just hope that it just doesn't get out of control and we, you know, start expanding things for unnecessary reasons. But like I said, you know, these guys have done a great job over at the school as well, and you know, we have a lot of fields to be utilized. And like I said, unfortunately, with the enrollment is down, I think we have plenty of places for them to play right now. But you know, further enhancements of the park would be great. That trail, wonderful idea. I know we spoke about a community garden at one time. Hopefully that's still on the docket.
Still working on that.
You know, stuff like that, so everyone can enjoy it, I think is a great thing. You know, a few years ago, we did have concerts there. They didn't end too late, and it was mostly all townspeople. We didn't really, you know, it wasn't. Obviously, Facebook wasn't a big thing back then, or any of the other social things. But it was only, you know, you looked around and it was everybody from the town that went and enjoyed it. And listened to some music. I thought that was a lot of fun. You know, and they didn't end too late. I mean, and you know, stuff like that is great as long as you could use the park for those reasons. Hey, I'm all for all that stuff. But like I said, you know, adding other things for you know, fields and this and that and the other thing, I think just enhancing the park would be sufficient enough at this time. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jack Kirkman, 564 Atlantic Avenue. Something that Jim said and something that Rita said kind of tied together. I just wanted to ask, Jim had mentioned about the thought of trying to expand the building that's in Allaire Road Park, which by the way is actually Joseph Robertson Park, to be 2 or 3 times larger so that it could be utilized for whatever. And then Rita had mentioned that a former councilman had raised the idea of buying a building, and she didn't go into that, but the building in question, I think this was before you were even on, Tom, was the old Junior Junction. And the thought was to take the old Junior Junction, which is already divided into like classroom space, and turn that into like a community house north, where there could be art classes or theater classes or cooking classes or things that can't be done at the existing community house. And I understand the concept of trying to expand that building down there, but it still would be a larger space. So I don't know, you know, that idea kind of died at the time, and I'm not sure what happened there, but that might be something that you might want to revisit as long as the building is still up for sale or embroiled in the problems that it's embroiled in with the planning board. They can't get variance. It might be easier to buy it and use it as a
They're
community
making some
center.
improvements to it. I'm not sure what the
Yeah, but anyway, I just wanted to raise it, that was the building in question. It actually is a good location, and it's already 2 or 3 times bigger, so it might be more cost effective to look to a building like that. And then, like Rita said, there's people in town, whether they're kids or older or seniors. I was approved by 4-H like 3 years ago to start a fiber arts program, and they don't want you to do them in the school. And there's like really no other place for me to do it in Spring Lake Heights. So I would have, the county had space for me if I wanted to do it up there. So there really is a lack of space for things like that. So you might want to think about that while that building's still available and just talk about it. Thank you.
One problem is bringing old buildings up to compliance, ADA compliance, especially municipality, you have to do it right.
It actually already is, Art.
And everything, well, not necessarily for a municipality, it was for the school
Junior
use.
Junction.
I don't know that it is for our use, or what we can do, or if we can fill it and utilize all the spaces, because all those classes would need teachers and everything else. But I know it's just very, very expensive to take on a project like that. And we'd have to have a need first, and then you fill it. I don't necessarily agree that sometimes you build something and not come.
That's already there.
We've had a lot of problems, like Ocean Road Park had a beautiful nature trail from its inception. No one ever went down there. We had to get down every 3-4 years and literally cut it open again so people get down there. Now it's not even accessible since Sandy, but never did it. We had the stations at Ocean Road Park. Jersey Shore Medical, probably Ficken then, donated it to us. Just no one utilized it.
The stations are down in that.
It was right behind the wall ball where you practice by the tennis courts, behind the basketball. That area there was all stations.
But Robertson Park's a different environment. It
Well,
lends itself
no,
to
but I'm
it
saying
lends itself to
that,
picture.
it doesn't always work, and you have to look at it. The trail, I'd have to see if I can combine a walking trail with a roadway and share that space. We might have to build something next to it. There's just a lot of, when the municipality does anything, it's like 10 times harder than anyone else. And it has to be ADA compliant and those things. But we're already looking at a trail, obviously, and a parking lot for Fletcher property, which would have to connect with the rest of the park. So, and we're doing stuff, right now we're really cleaning up after Sandy, right? We're still putting the buffers in, leaving that green space in the middle. We put 3 tables there with chessboards on it. Someone wanted to go play chess, But so we're going slow. We're going slow, but we're really at the stage now, we're not even back to where we were before Sandy, really. We're just, Fletcher property is much better off than it was, obviously. But we just finished fencing, and a lot of the buffers are being planted now. And then it's a lot, it'll continue to develop. But the main thing is we need people going there.
Right.
The kids, they just don't go there anymore. I don't know, and everything's got to be organized. We used to be out of the house, and where are you going? I'll be back tonight for dinner, and we would just be off all day with our friends, and I just don't see that anymore.
I think people would be even more willing to have their kids have that kind of because I grew up here too, and I was able to do that if we knew that there were eyes around.
Well,
so if it was a welcoming place where, we were just.
Mrs. LaForge, I'm sorry.
No,
you can, most certainly can do that, but you just have to come forward and
While you're
state your name
approaching,
and
just in case you didn't know, Councilman Perner is the recreation chair, and he's been spearheading a lot of the improvements of the park. So that's why he's so passionate about it.
Well, I know.
Yeah, I think he just.
When I grew up in the town, as you did, it's frustrating because things have changed so much.
Right.
And really, volunteers were the ones that did it.
Right.
You just have to state your name and address.
Sorry.
No, I think, and there are some kids that can go and they can go hang out, and I'm on the other side of town, so, for me, it would be, we would kind of all take a trip over there. We do spend time there, we'll go there to hit balls and practice soccer, do whatever. But, and I see the groups of kids, I just know that if it was, I have this park in mind in Point Pleasant that when I drive by, it's just, there's everybody from, like as Jim said, jocks, to strollers, to seniors, and everybody's enjoying it. And they do have charcoal grills and stuff like that. You don't have to get into that, or you could. There's a covered area, so if they wanted to have a picnic, And
Do they have events, do they run their rec and everything through there?
they have a lot of things there. It's community park, it's on River Road, it's where the old hospital is.
They do a lot of, they do
Oh,
environmental stuff, the environmental day they have there.
Okay, I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah, the old
Roach
hospital.
band plays there.
My son Shane.
Right, so well, now it's common.
Yeah, okay, right, that's a comment, right. Now you wish he was there.
So, but the stations are gorgeous, and I see people actually using them.
Mhm.
You know, they're not just there. The problem with Ocean Road, I would never walk down that, I'd worry about limes. You know,
Right.
and
Well, that's what happened.
Yeah.
Exactly right, Lyme's disease, ticks, nobody went into the woods anymore.
Yeah.
And you know what? We have so many beautiful alternatives. We're right, 6 blocks, 7 blocks from the beach, the boardwalk.
Right,
The bike trail and wall,
I know.
tremendous. I
Yeah.
do it all the time through Allaire State Park.
but
And-
I think it's, especially for a lot of people in Fairway Mews, and me, like, when I run, I don't always want to go to the beach because if it's too windy.
Right.
So I'll go up and around, you know, up Ocean Road, around, I'll go in Secret Cemetery, you know,
Yeah.
St. Catharines, so
Yeah.
there's just different options to have. Sometimes it's too cold in the winter to go to the boardwalk, even though we have it, and it would be nice to be in a secluded, you know,
With the trees, yeah.
you know, so
Yeah.
I
Certainly
think,
we'll look at it, and I know it was
Yeah.
suggested at the meetings, you know, I mentioned the nature trail. And we'll look at, right now, we're looking at ADA compliant materials to build a trail.
right,
Thinking we would do a soft trail as opposed to asphalt.
right, oh,
But-
that would be great.
But it has to be ADA compliant, and that's where the problem lies. So that's what we're looking at now, and we'll get some estimates and see, you know, cost effective how it is. Because you have to be able to wheel.
Right, exactly.
Wheelchair,
And you want,
yeah.
well, yeah,
Yeah,
wheelchairs and wheelchairs.
nothing's easy, you know, so that's what we're looking at, but that has been suggested, and it's not totally, you know, gone, we'll just, we have to, I just want you to understand that.
Yeah.
I've been here too long, just see those things happen and then nobody utilized them, nobody came, so.
No, I hear,
That's
and
always
then we
a
started
possibility.
talking about this a couple of years ago, and then there was a committee, and then life, and, you know, I haven't been
Here we
meeting in months, you know, so we'll come. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Sir, he was trying to get up before, sorry.
My name is Peter McHugh, I live on Crosby Road, 15 years. I'd just like to commend the mayor, the council, all the people that worked at the park. The Peter Park is fantastic, something to be proud of. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Martha Milpion, 2 Jeanette Court. This is the night for thanking. I want to thank the Public Works for all the hard work that they've been doing throughout the city, and especially in the park. When I moved here, there were 90 trees, I believe, in the and Sandy took care of that. Of course, I'm in favor of replanting. I'm in favor of trails, I'm in favor of enhancing the park, but I am concerned about expanding the athletic areas. Now, we do have activities in the park. We have tennis, basketball court, we have a little league, we have tennis courts, so it's not like it's not being used. So when we move forward, I would like us to consider carefully, moving slowly, paths, yes, exercise areas, yes. You have to think about parking. Parking is a major problem, it's a very busy street, and,
Thanks so much.
In fact, one of the items on our agenda was one of our high school students is running a tennis clinic, or tennis tournament this summer.
it is very active. I
Yeah.
mean, I find it a little perplexing when people say that.
I think it's just you drive by some days and it's,
Well,
there's
we
no kids
grew
in
up
it
though,
when you
it's
would
nothing
think.
compared to what it was. Although baby boomers, I mean, there were a lot of us. So, but it was nothing like years ago, and even 20 years ago, I was a councilman, there was a lot of use.
Something we're forgetting is the students are involved in technology.
Oh, no doubt. It's
So
a
that's
different
a
animal now.
whole
sure.
different animal.
Although our seniors are much more active than they were 20 years ago.
That's right.
Right?
I'm one of those.
Kathleen Kirkland, 564 Atlantic Avenue. I just wanted to make one additional comment in regards to the remarks remark about Lyme disease. As some of you know, I have been undergoing long-term treatment for chronic Lyme disease, which I contracted at the Fletcher property. So I would just like to make people aware that it's not just a woodland issue. You can pick up a tick any place. And the tick that I picked up was not a deer tick, it was what's called a Lone Star tick that travels on wild turkeys. Because in case you haven't heard, I know they're in your neighborhood, Tom, there are some wild turkeys now in town. It's not just the deer tick that spreads Lyme, so I would please ask that anyone going into any park area, any grassed area, any wooded area, please take the proper precautions, wear the repellent, wear light-colored clothing, and just do what they tell you to do and try to avoid the problem, because you do not want to have to go through what I go through. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Seeing no further hands, can I get a motion to close the public comment section? All in favor?
Aye.
And I think that's it. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Let me just say, before we adjourn, thank you all for coming, and I made the comment before, I really think that, the success of the community is driven through its volunteers, and it's great to see this many people come out and be passionate about our town and our parks and our community, and I would love to see more of it. Thank you all. Oh, and all in favor?
Aye.